Hello, 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 everyone. This is Dr. Garrett Smith, the nutrition detective around these here YouTube parts. For those of you who are here live, thank you for coming. The reason we were a little late this morning is because at about an hour before the live stream, my power went out. And it was out for about an hour. It was raining here last night, but it stopped raining and the power went out when it wasn't raining. So that was kind of weird. But anyway, we're back. And so we didn't have as much time to prepare, and I'm 40 minutes late starting. So I will do the best I can. Today we have a huge topic, which is depression. Obviously, as you'll see in the papers, it's a huge problem today. Now, I'm not here to discount the impact of trauma, physical trauma, emotional trauma, spiritual trauma, whatever has been a part of potentially, if you're out there dealing with this, there's all sorts of things that are part of it, right? What happens is if your chemistry isn't right, if your brain chemistry, which is based on your blood chemistry, which is based on your liver's capacity to properly detox you, what happens is you tend to recycle these traumas and these problems in your head over and over and over again. And the funny thing is when you get rid of the chemical part of it, a lot of times this over repetition stuff, this repetitive patterns go away. And some of you may know that you don't. If Joe, if there's reverb, it's not coming from mine. I don't know where it will be coming from. It's the same setup as we've always had. So anyway, the chemical part of it, I used to wonder why. Like I've done a lot of self-improvement in my time, and I've been in various groups, and I saw that the people would come in with the same problems week after week after week after week after week. Now, there's a certain amount of talk therapy that can help, but most of the time I think talk therapy is just mental masturbation and you're not really getting anywhere. But especially if nobody's ever dealing with the chemical part of it, people go out and drink every week, or they go out and they eat their crap food every week, or they go out and they take their antidepressants, which will show you how those make things worse. You ever notice how people get stuck on them and they can't get off? Well, it's because they interfere with your detox process, and then you stop the med, and then your detox process starts going again, but you haven't been detoxing for all that time you've been on the antidepressant meds, and now you're going to pay a heavier price, and it's harder to get off, and your symptoms are worse often than when you began, unless you're doing something like our approach. So we're going to get into toxic bile theory. We're going to get into toxicities. We're going to get into deficiencies. We're going to get into basically the same stuff. If you haven't seen these live streams, we're going to get into the same stuff that we do every single time, because the same toxicities and the same deficiencies are behind your chronic health problems. So let's go, shall we? Let me get into here. Okay. Let me get here. And then, oh, wait, hold on one sec. Let me do something, Joe, so I can see myself at the same time. I'm going to move this one over here. Okay, we should be good now. So Joe, share there we go. Okay. So what we always go over, some of you who are very new here or brand new may not have seen my stuff on toxic bile theory. I just like to give a really quick overview of it. Toxic bile theory, the idea is that your bile is the most toxic fluid made in your body. And as you get damaged, as you get more nutrient deficient, more toxic, what happens is the bile starts leaking into your bloodstream, and then it's toxic. It is the most toxic fluid in your body, and you're self-poisoning. You're self-poisoning your brain, your heart, your muscles, your bones, all that stuff. And if you want to see more on this, watch live stream 53 or 71 on this channel. Those are the basics of toxic bile theory. So what we're going to go into here is we're going to show how depression is connected to both the amount of bile in the blood, but particularly here, we're going to go into the recipe of the bile in the blood. So those are the two things that can cause you problems. So remember, the bile has all sorts of toxins in it. It's got toxic metals in it. It's got toxic vitamin A in it. It's got toxic copper in it. It's got all sorts of stuff. Hold on, Joe. Let me get this up. Wow, I got to figure out how to do this better. Let's put this over here so I can see myself and Joe on Telegram and the chat. Dan. So here we are. Gut microbiome linked metabolites in the pathobiology of major depression with or without anxiety. But when we talk about anxiety, I'm trying to keep the research on depression, but a lot of the research will be both. They'll talk about anxiety or depression. Anxiety and depression, just think of them as two sides of the same coin. Okay. So now I want to connect this first before I go into this gut microbiome. What does your gut microbiome do to the bile? So if you're ever thinking that the gut is everything, well, let me explain why that is because what's the very first thing from the liver? Where's the first place the bile goes? Goes into your intestines. So really, when people started seeing that the gut heal the gut, that kind of thing, they are talking about your bile. Because then what does your gut biome do to the bile? It can make your bile less damaging to you or more damaging to you. And then you reabsorb about 95% of your bile on a regular basis if you're on a standard American diet. If you're on a carnivore diet with absolutely no fiber, you're probably absorbing 99% of it and not pooping any of it out. I saw a carnivore saying that pooping once every 2 weeks was perfectly acceptable, and I almost lost it. Right. Taking one dump every 2 weeks is healthy. Okay. Anyway, so the gut microbiome can change the bile and make it worse or less damaging. So let's get into the important parts here. This is the intro. Bile acids are steroid acids that are synthesized in the liver from cholesterol and further processed by gut bacterial enzymes, thus requiring both human and gut microbiome enzymatic processes in their metabolism. I'm not going to go in here. They love to talk about how bile acids are important. Do they have functions? Sure. Does conventional medicine love to hide toxicity because they don't want to tell you that these things are toxic? Yes, they love to. So this is a key term. I just wanted to go over this for you guys. If you're going to go out and search for bile in relation to things, metabolomics, this is just a term you can use when you're searching on the internet or on PubMed. Using targeted metabolomics, we profiled primary. Primary are the bile acids made directly by your liver. Okay. Secondary bile acids happen in your intestines. They are made by, they're basically primary bile acids that are modified and then turn into secondary bile acids. So in the baseline serum samples of 208 untreated outpatients with that MDD was major depressive disorder. Yeah, here. Major depressive disorder. Now, remember how I told you there was two big things in toxic bile theory. How much bile is in the blood? It's not really supposed to be there. There are mild exceptions, but bile is not supposed to be in your blood. And then the recipe of the bile in your blood is a big factor in the types of symptoms you'll have, and you'll see that here. So what do we have here? The concentration of the primary bile acid chenodeoxycholic acid, or CDCA, was significantly lower at baseline in both severely depressed and highly anxious participants compared to participants with less severe symptoms. So some of you might be going, well, but there's less. I just told you primary bile acids were made by the liver, and secondary bile acids are converted by the gut bacteria. Is it possible that the chenodeoxycholic acid was being metabolized into a secondary bile acid and that was making these people worse? But they actually separated the anxiety and the depression. Okay. Now we get into, secondary bile acids. Did I just mention that? The gut bacteria derived secondary bile acids produced from CDCA, such as lithocholic acid. This means stones. LCA and several of its metabolites and their ratios to primary bile acids were significantly higher in the more anxious participants. So there's your recipe change. The interaction analysis of these suggested that the bile acid concentration differences were more strongly correlated to the symptoms of anxiety than depression, just showing us the recipe changes things. Significant differences in baseline chenodeoxycholic acid, isolithocholic acid, and several bile acid ratios differentiated treatment failures from remitters. Oh, so the effectiveness of their treatment was dependent upon their bile acid recipe. Are you following here? In patients with major depressive disorder, bile acid profiles representing changes in gut microbiome compositions are associated with higher levels of anxiety and increased probability of first-line treatment failure. Well, what's their treatment? What's their first-line treatment usually? Here, take this poison medication that will make you more dependent on it. Oh, did we lose me, Joe? There we go. So, next one. Oh, wait, let me refresh this. There it is. So let's just start connecting these things. The clinical and mechanistic roles of bile acids in depression, Alzheimer's disease, and stroke. Increasing clinical and preclinical evidences have implicated that bile acids are involved in the onset and progression of neurological and neuropsychiatric diseases. Here we summarized recent studies of bile acids in 3 types of highly prevalent brain disorders: depression, Alzheimer's disease, and stroke. The shared and specific bile acid profiles. Whenever you see bile acid profile, think recipe. The shared recipe and specific recipe of bile acid profiles were explored, and potential markers associated with disease development and progression were summarized. The mechanistic roles of bile acids were reviewed with focuses on inflammation, gut to brain to microbiota axis, cellular apoptosis. We also discussed future perspectives for the prevention and treatment of neurological and neuropsychiatric disorders by targeting bile acids and related molecules and gut microbiota. So even in the conventional medical world, they're talking about changing the gut microbiome. Try to fix the bile acid problem. They won't do it right. They'd rather give you bile like Udka and just ruin your liver over time. Taking bile acids will never be and has never been a solution to a toxic bile problem. Let's keep going. Bile acid signaling and its role in anxiety disorders. This is a little bit of the mechanism. The contribution of bile acids to anxiety via sending signals to the brain via direct or indirect pathways are also discussed. I mean, the bile's in your blood, folks. It's going to your brain. I don't know if this was the paper, but one of the papers says your brain cells, like most of the cells of your body, can make some bile acids. So the idea that I used to say where you should have absolutely 0 bile acids in your blood, I do this sometimes. I say, I was wrong. Your cells actually make waste products too called bile acids. And then you got more bile in the blood from your liver leaking it through leaky gut, through it going back up into your stomach. That's GERD from leaking out of your bile ducts. Anyway, so listen to this. Different bile acid ligands, that means different bile acids basically that bind to things, trigger distinct bile acid signaling cascades. Here's another tip. Whenever you see the word signaling in research where they talk about retinoic acid signaling or bile acid signaling or vitamin D signaling, they're telling you it's toxic and they're trying to gaslight you into not realizing that they're talking about toxicity. Okay? Producing diverse downstream effects, and these pathways may be involved in anxiety regulation. So they talk about signaling. They won't say it's toxic, but they say it may be involved in anxiety regulation, but they won't say anxiety causing, even though they're basically saying it. Future investigations from the perspective of bile acids are anticipated to lead to novel mechanistic insights. Imagine that. Let me see if this was the one. Here it is. Was this the one? No. No, that's not the one I wanted. Let me just double check. No, it's not that one. Okay. So let's go in here. Here it is again, Metabolomics. Metabolomics profile in depression. A pooled analysis of 230 metabolic markers in 5,283 cases with depression and 10,000 controls. Gosh, do you think that's enough people to try to get some patterns? I'd say so. So one of the things, something that a lot of people don't understand is that cholesterol is a marker of detox. So we're going to get into that now. Of the 51 lipids, fatty acids, and low molecular weight metabolites, 21 were significantly related to depression. Gosh, there's a pattern in the blood. Imagine that. Higher levels of apolipoprotein B, very low density lipoprotein cholesterol, triglycerides, diglycerides, total and monounsaturated fatty acids, total fat in the blood. All you people who are just gaga over fat and you think fat's going to save humanity, I'm sorry. Humans are not designed for tons of fat. We're just not. Can you get away with it for a while? Sure. Is it going to bite you in the ass later? Yeah. Fatty acid chain length, glycoprotein acetyls. I don't suggest taking extra acetyl groups like NAC, N-acetylcysteine, or even NAG, N-acetylglutamine. Don't put more acetyl groups in. Believe it or not. Tyrosine and isoleucine and lower levels of HDL cholesterol. Acetate, we'll go over that. That's acetic acid. And apolipoprotein A1 were associated with increased odds of depression. Analyses of lipid composition indicators confirmed a shift towards less HDL, the good cholesterol, which comes back to the liver from the tissues. So they have less of the cholesterol coming back to the liver and more very low density lipoprotein, the extra bad cholesterol, and triglyceride particles, fats in the blood in depression. So you have more bad cholesterol, you have more triglycerides, you have less of the good cholesterol. So very low density protein goes out from the liver. Oh, wait, here's an interesting thing. LDL and VLDL have retinol in them and retinol esters. There is vitamin A in the bad cholesterol and the very bad cholesterol. That's weird that they correlate that with disease now, isn't it? That's weird. So let me find my other paper here. Let's just go find this one. I'll just put the link in here about triglycerides being associated with vitamin A toxicity. And then you saw that it said there was more triglycerides in severe depression, which would mean more of a liver problem. Here we go. Let me put this in there. There we go. So triglycerides, I've been over this before, but high triglycerides are just vitamin A toxicity. It's just an obvious thing. How can we fix that? Well, low vitamin A and then also nicotinic acid is well known to help lower triglycerides. So let's get back in here. Where were we? We were this one. So let me just go over some fun things that those of you who have been here a while will be able to figure this out. It'll make sense to you. So we talked about the cholesterol, the triglycerides, total fatty acids. Fatty acids are how your body stores toxins in your liver. More of them around means you store more fat-soluble toxins in your liver of all types. That's how your body stores these things. Fat-soluble toxins are stored bound to free fatty acids. This is science. So acetate, it said lower levels of acetate. Okay, we're going to talk about ALDH because we're going to get into that too. Acetate is acetic acid. Same thing as vinegar. When you drink alcohol, or even when you eat sugars, some of the sugars will turn into ethanol. This is not something to freak out about. You still need to eat carbs, okay? But what it does is it goes through ethanol, as an example. Let's just say sugar eventually turns into ethanol to some extent. Ethanol goes through alcohol dehydrogenase, ADH. And then you've got aldehydes, acetaldehyde, aldehyde, which then would go through aldehyde dehydrogenase, which would then turn into acetic acid. Okay? So if there's low levels of acetic acid at the end, okay, this would mean probably that the ALDH is running slowly. So you're not making as much acetate or acetic acid, which means, again, ALDH is not running well. We talk about ALDH all the time. Slow ALDH tends to mean that you're not making bile as well as you should, and more of it's going back into your system, which is exactly what I'm talking about here. So there's that one. So we have signs of slow ALDH. Imagine if I'm going to tie this into things on the next group of tabs. So here we go. We have Metabolomics. Wait, Joe, which link am I missing? Tell me in Telegram. Two back. This one. We'll throw this one in there. Throw this one in there again, just for the heck of it. And then I'll even go 3 back, just to make sure. Wouldn't want anybody to not be able to find our... Oh, I put it in the wrong thing. Well, this is such a pain. Hopefully that covers it, Joe. Okay, we already did this one. Now we're back to this one. Metabolomics on depression, a comparison of clinical and animal research. So now we have animals as well. Gosh, do you think they'll find a pattern? A total of 55 and 77 high-frequency metabolites were reported consistently in 2/3 of clinical, that's people, and murine, that's mouse, studies respectively. What were they looking at? I'm just going to pick out some of the important ones. Let me refresh this. This is not, well, I actually highlighted all of that. Tryptophan. Hey, do you know what niacin comes from? Nicotinic acid comes from tryptophan. So they found consistently changed metabolites. Deoxycholic acid, DCA. This is a secondary bile acid, the most toxic. Just so you know, UDCA, ursodeoxycholic acid, is a pharmaceutical form of a bile. They give you bile acids sometimes to try to, they say they're going to help your liver. It actually destroys your liver quicker. It makes your labs look a little better, but it causes problems. And then TUDCA, toroursodeoxycholic acid, is basically UDCA with a taurine bound to it. It may make your labs look better. It may make you feel a little better at the start, but it's going to cause problems long term. Again, bile problems are not solved by adding more bile to the system. All you're doing is changing the recipe. You're not fixing the underlying problem. So let's just go. I always like to talk about sulfur. One consistently altered metabolite, a sulfur compound, indoxyl sulfate. We don't like sulfur around here too much. So let's see. These metabolic dysregulations and pathways are mainly implicated in enhanced inflammation, impaired neuroprotection, reduced energy metabolism, increased oxidative stress damage, and disturbed apoptosis, laying solid molecular foundations for major depressive disorder. If you have depression, you have a specific pattern in your chemistry. If we can change your chemistry, we change your inflammation, we protect your brain, we help you with energy, we reduce the damage in the system, and your body can get rid of cells the way it's supposed to. Okay? Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything else on that one. Okay. So now we're into anxiety and depression. Another one with anxiety and depression in patients with primary biliary, this is bile duct, cholangitis, inflammation of the bile ducts. Gosh, anxiety and depression, bile ducts, you think those bile ducts are leaking bile into the bloodstream and causing problems with their brain? Let's see. Primary biliary cholangitis, PBC, formerly known as primary biliary cirrhosis. Oh, you should know. We do now have somebody in the Love Your Liver program who has completely reversed primary biliary cirrhosis. Complete reversal. Grant Generu, he fixed his chronic kidney disease where he was going to have to go in for dialysis or basically go home to die. He fixed his. The hepatologist has never seen somebody recover from cirrhosis, ever. And Grant's kidney doctors had never seen anybody recover from chronic kidney disease. Wow, we must be doing something here. And imagine that I can show it all in the science as to why it should work. So, is a chronic cholestatic, that means leaky bile. Oh, immune-mediated, liver disease characterized by injury because of the toxic bile causing it to intrahepatic bile ducts that may ultimately progress to cirrhosis and liver failure. If your liver fails, you're dead. And result in the need for liver transplant or death without treatment. The reason why everything else breaks first, folks, is because if your liver breaks, you're dead. Almost always other things break first. What are the two most common symptoms? The two most commonly reported symptoms among patients with primary biliary cirrhosis are fatigue and pruritus, itching in your skin, which may be debilitating and negatively impact physical, mental, emotional, and social well-being. Intense symptom burden has been associated with depressive symptoms, cognitive defects. Hey, can you say brain fog, folks? Poor memory. Poor sleep schedules. Could you just say insomnia? And social isolation, trouble getting along with other people and wanting to avoid them because of anxiety and depression. Somebody on Twitter today, Matthew, his Twitter handle's @goodtexture. He said today that his fear of flying has now gone away. Boy, that's anxiety, isn't it? So let me talk about pruritus. Why does liver disease cause skin itching? First, your body wants to detox the bile through the poop. If you are leaking bile into your bloodstream, then your body wants to get rid of it through the kidneys. And this can be, let's say, if you tend to have a lot of lower back stiffness that kind of comes and goes, this is your kidneys referring pain from having to deal with too much bile. This is what was going to kill Grant Generu, was bile going to his kidneys. And then if your liver can't get rid of it fast enough and your kidneys can't get rid of it fast enough, it's going to come out through your skin. You have toxins coming out through your skin. They come out and they don't go anywhere. And they irritate your skin on the way out, and then they just sit there and they irritate your skin. They irritate the nerves. They cause you to have rashes. They cause you to have all sorts of problems. That's what's going on. And you feel it most at night because that's when you're laying there with nothing else to think about. But look, all these things, liver problems causing brain problems. Interesting. Let me see, was there another thing in here? Nope. That was it. Okay. And you remember how they talked about stroke? We talked about stroke and depression, or stroke and bile acids. Well, let's go into here. Bilirubin. So association between high serum total bilirubin, too much bilirubin in the blood. Bilirubin. When somebody has too much bilirubin in their blood and their liver and their kidneys can't process it fast enough, or they're just simply getting too much bile in their blood, what color does their skin turn? Yellow. What color's bile? Yellow. Oops, wrong one. People are jaundiced. Yellow. Too much bilirubin. Bilirubin. So here we go. Association between high serum total bilirubin and post-stroke depression. High serum bilirubin, too much bile in the blood, one way of seeing it, predicts depression in non-stroke subjects. Oh, well, what about in stroke subjects? High bilirubin is associated with post-stroke depression as well. Huh. Folks, I don't know how much more evidence you need that your depression is related to too much bile in your blood. You are leaking bile into your blood. Joe, when you said I got bumped off of the screen, or am I bumped off of the feed? Hold on. It looks like I'm still on. No, I just need to share my screen again. Share again. Okay, got it. Okay, so let's go to the next thing. I'm going to try to go through the rest of this faster because I've gone over this a bunch of times in the past. Let me share. Here we go. Let me find it. Share. Screen. Entire screen. This one. There we go. Okay. We should be good now. Okay, Joe, you can show it again. Yeah, there we go. Here, so now we're going to get into aldehydes. I don't always get into aldehydes. Sometimes I forget. Aldehydes are super toxic. Aldehydes are a byproduct of when you drink alcohol. Aldehydes are a product of when you drink certain foods that are high in formaldehyde. Vanilla's smell is vanillin, which is an aldehyde. Cumin aldehyde. Like all these smelly things that you like, these essential oils and other stinky ass things, they're full of aldehydes. They're toxic. Okay. So, and I will tell you that ALDH, the speed of your detox enzyme ALDH, is extremely linked to your ability to make good bile and to get rid of it. Don't make the mistake of just thinking you're going to crank up your ALDH by doing stupid things like Asian pear and other things like that. No. Like when you're young, you can speed up your ALDH by drinking alcohol, but is that a good idea? No, your ALDH sped up because you ingested a toxin. Doing things to purposely try to speed up ALDH. Think of it as this way. You have a car and you want it to drive faster. The car is dirty. The parts in it are old. They suck, but it still runs. Think of this as, I don't know, a depressed person. Things are not working well. So then they say, well, Dr. Smith said ALDH was really important. I read this one paper that this herb stimulates ALDH, so I'm going to take it. You're putting a turbocharger on your dirty, poorly running car. Do you realize that that's going to wear out the car faster and it's going to cause you more problems and more broken stuff? Imagine if, let's say, I'm saying in that same example, we could clean the engine, give it good gasoline, and make sure that all the parts in it, we replace any of the parts that need replacing so that they work better. And then your car drives faster without putting a turbocharger on it and grinding it to death. Okay? So, we're going to get into aldehydes and ALDH. Association of serum, blood, individual, and mixed aldehydes with depressive symptoms in the general population. A machine learning study. Did I do this one? Nope. Here we go. Let's get in here. Let's do this. The mixed aldehydes were positively associated with depressive symptoms using the BKMR model, and butyraldehyde and heptanaldehyde were the dominant aldehydes. This is going to be the recipe. Again, a recipe thing. Several aldehydes, such as butyraldehyde and benzaldehyde interacted with each other in their effects on depressive symptoms. The results of gender stratification analysis showed that butyraldehyde was the major contributor to the total effect of aldehydes on depressive symptoms in males, while heptanaldehyde was the dominant aldehyde in females. Actually, Will, since you're here, could you find on Twitter that post I made the other day on the aldehydes in cancer? I think if you just did a search, from NutriDetect and did cancer aldehyde, I bet you'd find it. Could you find that so I could link it real quick? I don't want to take the time to search for it. Conclusions. Our study indicated that mixed aldehydes can increase the risk of depressive symptoms, of which butyraldehyde and heptanaldehyde were the major contributing aldehydes. It all goes through the ALDH family. The more aldehydes you have to detox, the more strain you put on the system, the more you break down the system's parts, and the more you use up the energy for the system to run. We're going to get into that. Elijah says, so an unspicy diet is key to detoxing the body. Well, we'll just talk about spice for 1 second. Capsaicin is used as pepper spray. It should be obvious that pepper spray is an irritant and highly inflammatory. If you are putting spicy food into your gut, you are irritating and inflaming your gut. This should make sense. There's nothing healthy about spicy food. That is just the way it is. Surfin says, aren't there supplements to help break down aldehydes? That is not what we're trying to do. This is nothing against you, Surfin. This is the lazy thinking way of doing it. We stop putting aldehydes in first. We stop intoxing so we can start detoxing. There is Z-biotics, which is a genetically modified bacteria that makes a lot of aldehydes, but you could take a genetically modified bacteria to try to do that. I'm going to tell you that trying to mess around with ALDH by not using, we stop intoxing, and we get the essential nutrients going that your body needs to function, and we get the energy for your ALDH to run, which is nicotinic acid, not niacinamide, not nicotinamide, not NAD, not any nicotinamide riboside. No, it's nicotinic acid. And if you want to read those articles, I don't know if I didn't see Kelsey in the chat today, but Kelsey Kenny is our nicotinic acid expert, and she wrote our articles in the Love Your Liver program. And she is the expert on that. She actually did the research on the nicotinic acid and depression stuff for the live stream today. So thanks, Kelsey. So let's go over this. So alcohol flushing. Do you guys, for those of you who, oh, cool. Oh, well, yeah, that was the ADHD. The one on cancer, though. Oh, did you get the one on cancer, Will? Anyway, the alcohol flushing response is associated with the risk of depression. Oh, wait, was I talking about ALDH and aldehydes and depression? Well, do you guys know what the Asian flush or the Asian glow is? Some of you will know what it is. Some of you are Asian and you have it. It's supposedly almost 50% of the Asians in the world have this genetic issue. It means their ALDH runs slowly genetically. If you go and you look at Asian diets, there's not a lot of vitamin A in general. I'm not going to talk about the Okinawans again. Like, the exceptions prove the rule. The exceptions don't, make the rule. I don't care about the Okinawans. They probably never got a vaccine in their lives. They don't disprove this. But ALDH, if you have slow ALDH, that is when you get the alcohol flushing response. What is this response? It is a buildup of acetaldehyde in your system that you can't clear because the ALDH is too slow. Acetaldehyde is what gives you hangovers. Acetaldehyde is what will kill you from alcohol poisoning. It's not the ethanol. It's the acetaldehyde. So they're saying here, if the alcohol flushing response is associated with the risk of depression. So are they saying that if you build up aldehydes because you have a slow ALDH, that you are more likely to be depressed, which is what that last study just said? I believe that's what they're saying. They don't talk about ALDH in this paper, but I could show you tons of papers that connect this. The alcohol flushing response is experienced by 36 to 45% of East Asians after they consume a small amount of alcohol. If you guys have ever been around an Asian who has the Asian flush or the Asian glow, I mean, they have like one drink, they turn bright red. I mean, some of them, I mean, this is not everyone. Okay, not all of them, but the typical response, they have one drink, maybe two drinks. This is what I've seen. They turn red and they get very intoxicated very quickly. They know it. They're like, I can only have one drink or something like that. And then they won't drink certain alcohols because they're even worse for them. So here we go. Because individuals with this response are unable to metabolize the toxic acetaldehyde derived from alcohol effectively, the response offers a potential indicator of the health risks associated with alcohol intake. It's going to show them how sensitive they are to the buildup of aldehydes. The risk of depression was significantly greater among alcohol flushers who drank less than 15 grams of alcohol a day. This is different than the niacin flush. Don't get these two mixed up. Nicotinic acid speeds up your ALDH because it's the fuel for your ALDH to run. It's the gasoline. In conclusion, a large number of South Koreans experienced the alcohol flushing response compared with never flushers. Current flushers are more likely to develop depression with a small dose of alcohol. So what this means, so when people get into genetics, does this change anything we do? People be like, but I have the genetics. Oh. Or like the Dirty Genes book. What a bunch of garbage. Okay. You ever watch those movies where there's like the hero, like Rudy, right? Or the guys who are like Rocky, right? They're little and they're not genetically gifted, but they work their ass off and they do the job and then they win, okay? But they had to work harder and smarter to do that. If you have genetic stuff, the approach is the same. You simply have to be more diligent. You don't get to slack off like other people. If you want to win, you better practice hard and be smart about what you do. You just don't, you just have to work harder. That's it. It's the same concepts and principles. You just have to work harder. So while we're at it, yeah. So thank you, Will. Let me see if I'll put this link up here. If you aren't following me on Twitter yet, you should know. You should maybe join Twitter just to follow me. But so while we're here talking about depression and aldehydes, I made this post this week. Here's the quote from the paper. Let me get this link. Put this in here. Oh yeah, and Will gave me the idea to do ADHD and that should work. ADHD and malondialdehyde, which was directly related to the number of symptoms in ADHD. So here we go. Aldehydes, before the initiation of chemotherapy, were significantly elevated in cancer patients compared to controls. Aldehydes such as hexanal, heptanal, and malondialdehyde, which comes from seed oils and PUFAs, but they never talk about it. They're just like, seed oils are bad. And I'm like, why? Oh, it's aldehydes. They turn into aldehydes. I want you to get this wording. We're strikingly higher. You know when scientists use a word like strikingly? That's pretty important. They were strikingly higher in samples from cancer patients, while trans-4-cis-4-decenal was the prominent aldehyde in the blood of controls. So they all had bile in their blood, but the cancer people had more. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay. Now here's the recipe. In addition, in each form of cancer, the pattern of aldehydes appeared to be unique when compared to controls or to other forms of cancer. Recipe, recipe, recipe. It's the recipe. So what you take in and what you can clear out or not clear out determines what form of cancer shows up. Now, did you know that in cancer cells, ALDH is commonly very high. So there's lots of cancer in the blood of, or there's lots of aldehydes in the blood of cancer patients, and ALDH is very, very high in cancer tissues. What does modern medicine want to do with ALDH in cancer tissues? They want to shut it down. That's what they want to do. Cancer, as it says here, cancer is toxicity. The only way you're ever going to get anywhere truly with cancer is to realize its toxicity. And this was actually after a post of mine about ALDH and cancer tissues and how they want to slow it down. Oh, they also find tons of copper in cancer, which we'll get into in depression as well. Copper is super high in cancer tissues, many, many cancer tissues. Copper and aldehydes. Gosh, what do we try to fix here? So now, did I put that link up? Okay, so let's go here. Is this going to refresh? Is it going to give me my... Oh, maybe it's not going to give me my... I did highlight this. Okay, maybe I didn't. So I want to show you here. So there's this thing called ALDA1. ALDA1 is a pharma cartel ALDH booster. If I even could take this, would I? No, I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch it. But it does speed up ALDH. So what does it do to depression in animals? Let's take a wild guess. If I say aldehydes, if I've just shown you evidence that aldehydes are really high in depression, where was it? Collectively, ALDH2 activation by ALDA1 led to a significant attenuation or reduction, that's what that means, of depressive and anxiety-like behaviors in the prenatally stressed rats. Huh. Weird, right? So they sped up ALDH and the depressive symptoms went down. Are you following the pattern yet? Isn't this what I do like every week? It's become kind of hard to deny after a while. Total antioxidant capacity and malondialdehyde in depressive rotational shift workers. Okay, first of all, shift work, folks, working nights, graveyard shift, even the FDA has said it's a carcinogen. Okay, so do they understand carcinogens? Not really, but humans are supposed to sleep at night. If you are a night owl and you cannot sleep at night, you have problems. Humans, there aren't humans who are manufactured to stay up at night. That's not how it works. If you are a night owl, you're probably toxic. I mean, I would guarantee it. Don't just say, oh, I'm a night owl. And unless you just want to be lazy and ignore it and then get sick and then wonder, why do they say night shift work is a carcinogen? Well, it's not because you're up at night. It's because you screw up your entire bile rhythm. Figure it out. Work on it. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm saying there's something wrong, and that's a sign of something being wrong. I have a family member who didn't sleep all night until 6 a.m. this morning. And I know this person is extremely toxic. And I know I could help them if they would just listen to me, but that's not going to happen. So, malondialdehyde. I wonder if malondialdehyde is a problem. Results of this study. Oh, wait, was this was the one I didn't, oh, wait, no. This is the one, wait, does it have it? Wait. Hold on. 5 times. There it was. There it is. I knew I could find it. This was the one I was looking for. I didn't want to go down there. In this study, the mean malondialdehyde concentration was 3.72, which is more than 5 times higher than the normal value for malondialdehyde, which is less than 0.7 micromoles. Depressed shift workers had 5 times higher malondialdehyde levels. Gosh, do you think that's a problem? Oh, wait, I didn't catch this part. This finding is consistent with the findings of some studies that reported major depression to be associated with increased levels of serum malondialdehyde. Interesting. So, aldehydes, not good. Now, I want to hit these pretty quick. John commented in the chat, I remember my cancer symptoms increasing when working during the night shift. We don't make these things up, folks. So let's go into depression and vitamin A toxicity. This is going to be a long one today, folks. Anthony Mawson, Anthony Mawson is honestly a hero of toxic bile theory. He is the spiritual founder of toxic bile theory. He put it out as just vitamin A leaking into the blood. I took it and turned it into toxic bile and all the things that are associated with it leaking into the blood. But wow, he did a whole paper on vitamin A and postpartum depression. Okay, hold on a second. Taryn, are you watching a bunch of stuff on the internet? Yes. Okay, we're trying to figure out what is sucking all of my CPU away. Hold on one second. Make sure that the Amazon thing is not working. Go unplug the Amazon thing. By the TV, the little box. Swear people can't help me do this one thing once a week. And if anybody's watching stuff on the internet, if you could stop. Okay, so it's getting better. Okay. Here we go, from Anthony Mawson. There is increasing evidence that retinoids in higher concentration are associated with cognitive disturbances and mood disorders, including depression and suicide. And prolonged lactation reduces maternal stores of retinoids. So all the people are like, why is there vitamin A in milk, in breast milk, if the babies don't need it? The mother is detoxing it. The mother is detoxing the vitamin A into the baby. I've posted Rodal's research showing that a mouse mother that was made vitamin A toxic, she had babies, she actually killed the baby with vitamin A toxicity in the breast milk. Okay? So imagine if you're toxic in vitamin A, ladies. Consistent with this hypothesis, it is estimated the amount of vitamin A is transferred from mother to infant during the first 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding, equivalent to 76% of a dose known to cause acute vitamin A poisoning in an adult. Why would the mother detox vitamin A into a baby? Is there a survival adaptation to this? Well, imagine, you ever heard of like animal mothers and even human mothers like killing their children because they were losing their minds? Do you think it would be really important if, let's say, you had a new baby who's relatively empty in vitamin A? So they're like an empty vessel almost. And they've got fast ALDH because they were just born and their stuff is running better. And you need the mother to keep the baby alive. Right? So then the mother says, well, let me share some of this poisoning with you so I don't lose my mind and kill you or do other things. It's a survival adaptation. So it's not vital nutrients. Anthony Mawson came around towards the end and started realizing that vitamin A is actually just a poison. But his early papers, he was still kind of hemming and hawing and thinking, well, it might be necessary. It's not. So, I forgot I put this on the wrong one. So I wanted to say this here. Retinoic acid. I should have put this on the other one. So vitamin A, every bit of vitamin A you eat, some of it turns into retinoic acid. This is what they call active vitamin A. It's not active vitamin A. It's not a vitamin. It's a poison. Think of how poisonous Accutane is. That's active vitamin A. Your body makes that when you eat vitamin A. Think of tretinoin, Retin-A. Studies were stopped early because too many of the veterans in the study were dying from Retin-A, which is all trans retinoic acid. Accutane is 13-cis retinoic acid. If you don't want to believe me, you can look up the metabolism of vitamin A. Your body makes these. So gosh, if you got a lot of vitamin A in your system and you were making more retinoic acid, what would that do to your ALDH? Why do I tell people you need to stop consuming aldehydes? Oh, because retinoic acid, the end product, your body says, this is so toxic. This is so toxic to me, I'm going to downregulate the enzyme aldehyde dehydrogenase that makes it. Your body's saying, I need to slow down the manufacture of this poison so I don't kill myself. Oh, wait, and that's where we get into retinoic. So like retinoic acid has been shown, Accutane has been shown to increase suicidal ideation. Do you think depression happens a long time before you want to commit suicide? Yeah. So it downregulates ALDH and it increases the cellular toxicity of acetaldehyde. Huh. So if somebody was, I don't know, let's say eating lots of vitamin A and drinking alcohol, it'd be even worse for them. Can you say Liver King? Ooh, oops. Have you seen that guy lately? It's a rough downhill ride for him now. Anyway, so we're going into the vitamin A toxicity thing. Breast is still best. Oh yeah, don't get me wrong, Allie, breast is still best. Absolutely, folks. Absolutely. I fully support nursing. I just need for ladies to know, I need ladies to take responsibility and realize that if you don't detox yourself, or if you decide during your pregnancy that you're just going to eat and drink whatever you want, you're poisoning your kid. And it will come out of you either into the baby or in your breast milk. I need you ladies to take responsibility and potentially, I mean, I know, you want to know how, okay, so when I say take responsibility, this is not just on you ladies. I believe that I poisoned my son as we were weaning him. I know my ex-wife was horribly toxic. And now I look back and I know it. I did not know all of this at the time. But we weaned my son off of breast milk with goat milk, which some sources say is 4 times higher in vitamin A than cow milk. And then he ended up getting anaphylactic tree nut allergy, and they said he had core muscle, development issues, and he had these little minor like seizures and all this stuff. Does he have those now that I've figured this stuff out? Well, we've gotten rid of one of the tree nut, of the 3 nut. The 3 nuts that he was sensitive to, we've guaranteed gotten rid of one of them. The allergist has never seen a kid recover from tree nut allergies. I plan on being the first. He is now playing basketball and soccer and doing all this stuff that, if he would not have been fixed, he would not have been doing these things. So these things can be fixed. So here's another paper, Retinoic acid and depressive disorders, evidence and possible neurobiological mechanisms. Possible neurobiological mechanisms. Pretty big statement here. When vitamin A intake is excessive, however, or after ITT treatment, oh, you mean like Accutane? Wow, they don't even call it Accutane. They just call it ITT. Oh, and all trans retinoic acid. That's Retin-A. So if you're putting Retin-A on your face, you're poisoning yourself. You are absorbing it into your bloodstream. Or after Accutane treatment, isotretinoin, increased risks have been reported for depression and suicidal ideation. Notice they include vitamin A intake. They didn't say supplements. They didn't say food. They said vitamin A intake because it's all the same. Don't delude yourself into thinking that natural vitamin A is not harmful and only synthetic is. It's a delusion. I've had a whole Twitter thread showing this in the research. Preclinical studies fully further confirm that retinoic acid treatment induces hyperactivity of the hypothalamus, pituitary adrenal axis, and typical depressive-like behaviors. A better understanding of the neurobiological mechanisms underlying retinoic acid-dissociated depression will provide new insights in its etiology and development of effective intervention strategies. So they just want to intervene. They want to keep giving you your Accutane and your Retin-A. They want to keep poisoning you and then just try to see if they can figure out something. More to give you, more to sell you. They want to sell you more stuff. So we get into, well, this is weird. We talk a lot here about how they can use poisons or toxins to stop detox and relieve your symptoms temporarily. Here we have a paper. Did I miss a chat? Let me get those. I don't remember. I miss a link. I'll put them all here. There we go. Direct inhibition of retinoic acid catabolism by fluoxetine. So they're saying vitamin A detox is directly slowed down by Prozac. But wait, it relieves the symptom of depression. Did you catch what I just said? You can use poisons or toxins to stop or slow down detox to temporarily relieve your symptoms. Is that not what this paper is directly saying in the title? So what happens? You slow down your detox. You stop putting so many of these toxins in your blood because they're stuck in your liver and your fat tissues. They're not coming out. You're not detoxing them. So you're accumulating them. You're building more of them up in your system, but if they're not in your blood, they don't affect your brain. Then what happens when people try to get off of these things? They stop or they wean off even a little bit, and then all of their symptoms come back. Sometimes worse than they were before. Why is this? Because the entire time you slowed down your detox, you were building up toxins in your liver. You take off the detox inhibitor, your body starts detoxing it, you're extra toxic, and then it goes in your blood and you get the same symptoms. This is exactly the same thing they do with cancer. Weird that both of these things are connected with aldehydes, isn't it? Huh. Anyway. Oh, this was, yeah, what we got this one. So let's go into this one. These are posts on my old research forum. We talked, so this is just a post about postpartum depression. Postpartum depression, a lot of pregnancy problems are caused by what's called intrahepatic cholestasis of pregnancy. Did I not get that one, Joe? Here, I'll get that. I got to do this right at the start. So this one, this is just more postpartum stuff. There's a couple papers in there. This is, I think that's the same paper we just went over. And while we're just here, I'm going to go over this. This is the evidence. People will say, but well, you don't make Accutane in your system. That's totally synthetic. That's not. We don't make that in our body. Accutane is 13-cis-retinoic acid. I'm not even going to go into this study because I don't need to. 13-cis-retinoic acid is an endogenous, made from within the body compound in human blood. Do you think they figured that out after they gave people Accutane, or did they just measure normal people and find Accutane in their blood? That's what they did. Oh, determination of endogenous, made from within the body, levels of 13-cis-retinoic acid, isotretinoin Accutane, all trans-retinoic acid, tretinoin, aka Retin-A, and their 4 oxometabolites in human and animal plasma. Wait, do you think they're giving Retin-A and Accutane to animals? No. By high-performance liquid chromatography with automated column switching and ultraviolet detection. Wow, they found it 2 ways or 3? Who knows? Don't fool yourself. You eat vitamin A, you're taking Accutane, you're taking Retin-A. Now, here's a fun one. Seasonal affective disorder. SAD. From the paper, Retinoic Acid and Affective Disorders, the evidence for an association. We already kind of went over this. It was found in this same study that photo period, how much light you have during the day. Oh, you night sleepers or you night owls, better listen. The amount of the length of time of light during the day. But if you're inside and you're not getting any light, especially at night, and you're awake, then this might be it. It regulates retinoic aldehyde dehydrogenase or retinaldehyde dehydrogenase in tanocytes as well as RAR/RXRs. Those are the retinoid, supposedly retinoid receptors. It's a crock. But anyway, in the hypothalamus, therefore showing changes in retinoic acid signaling driven by seasonal changes, showing changes in retinoic acid toxicity driven by seasonal changes. Given that seasonal affective disorder is a form of depression driven by seasonality, there is a potential for retinoic acid to influence this disorder. The length of time of the day, like sun. Wait, does sun help break down vitamin A in your skin? Yes, it does. Weird. Longer days, more vitamin A breakdown, less depression. People are happier. Wintertime, less sun, less breakdown of vitamin A, more depression. Does this make sense? Why is nobody else explaining this like this? I don't know. Did I get this one yet? Did I do this one, Joe? I'll just do it again, just for the heck of it. That's vitamin A. Oh, let's go copper. Let's do copper now. Oh, copper. I always get so depressed when I talk about copper. Is this gonna highlight for me? There we go. Copper in depressive disorder, a systematic review. So what I went on these, I just wanted to make this quick because we're taking too much time already. I went into systematic reviews and meta-analyses. If you are out there thinking that copper is good for you and that copper is going to save your health, you are very, very wrong. You are going to get bit in the ass very hard. And I'd suggest you stop what you're doing. Mitosynergy is not going to save you. Copper sulfate is not going to save you. It's going to slowly poison you. If you feel better from it now, it's because it's a toxin that is shutting down your detox and giving you some symptom relief until your liver fills up with copper, and then you are going to be in a world of hurt. Believe it or not, what happens with copper? Well, this is a nice start to the article. Copper has been associated with mental disorders such as autism and epilepsy. That's a nice start. Pooled analysis found that patients with depression had higher blood levels of copper than the controls without depression, while there was no difference of copper content in hair between the two groups. Okay. There's a reason that I and the people I teach, we do hair and blood. We test hair and blood for copper and zinc. Well, gosh, they found no difference in hair between the two groups, but there was a difference in the blood. Dr. Smith, why do you test hair and blood? Did they just explain it? There's a reason I do what I do. If I include a test, there's a reason. I don't do that much testing. I probably do less testing than any alternative practitioner who tests that you've ever gone to. I don't need that much. I just need to know what to look at. This meta-analysis suggests that increased levels of blood copper might be associated with depressive disorder and therefore the possible role of copper as a biomarker of depression. They're saying they could possibly find depressed people by simply looking at the amount of copper in their blood. One guy on Facebook came at me in my messages and he's like, I'm taking like 30 grams of copper sulfate a day and I've never had better health. And I haven't heard back from that guy. That might not end so well. I don't remember if I put this one in. I'm going to do it again. The car worked just fine until it broke. Honeymoon phases. This is interesting. postpartum depression is pretty common in women. Elevated serum copper levels in women with a history of postpartum depression. So they just have a history of postpartum depression. And one of the things that happens the most during pregnancy is leaking toxic bile into your blood that contains toxic copper. Previous observations suggested that there may be an association between elevated serum copper levels and postpartum depression. Copper levels were significantly higher in women having a history of postpartum depression compared both to non-depressed women and to depressed women without a history of postpartum depression. So they say here, the mean serum copper level of 78 women with a history of postpartum depression was 131. This is bad. This is not good. I don't care if it's in LabCorp's normal range. This is a bad copper. Compared with 111 in 148 women without such a history, and 106 in non-depressed controls. Wow. Wait, so the depressed women were higher in copper across the board, and the non-depressed controls were the lowest. I still would want those non-depressed controls to have a lower blood copper. And then they say zinc levels did not differ across the three groups. Well, let me tell you something. If you have the same amount of copper in the three groups, the highest copper relative to zinc will cause the worst problems. Zinc protects you against copper. So let's just say the zinc levels, they were all like, I don't know, 90. So there was 131 copper and a 90 in zinc. Well, that's a difference of 41. You have 111 and 90, you have a difference of 21. And then you have 106 and 90, and you have a difference of 16. Oh, what would that be called? The copper, something along the lines of similar to a copper to zinc ratio. The higher the copper to the same zinc would give a higher copper to zinc ratio. Copper to zinc ratios were significantly higher in the PPD history, the postpartum depression history positive group, due to the significant differences in copper levels. Depressed women had higher copper, but not zinc levels compared with men. Now here's the kicker. Low dose copper exposure exacerbates depression-like behavior in ApoE4 transgenic mice. So you're saying supplementing copper made their depression worse? Is that what they're saying? I believe that's what they're saying. Did I get that link? Yes, I did. 173. Yep. Copper, a cofactor of multiple enzymes, is involved in regulating depression-related processes. Well, you just saw how, it regulates it. It makes it worse. After the treatment, ApoE4 mice displayed obvious, what did they get? ApoE4 and wild-type mice were treated with 0.13 parts per million copper chloride for 4 months. And then people are going to come there and be like, well, that's not a good form of copper. It's not, that doesn't matter. It's all toxic. After the treatment, ApoE4 mice displayed obvious depression-like behavior compared with the wild-type mice. And copper exposure further made worse the depression-like behavior of ApoE4 mice. Taken together, our study demonstrated that copper exposure exacerbates depression-like behavior of ApoE4 mice, and the mechanisms may involve the dysregulation of synaptic function, nerve function, and immune response, and overactivation of neuroinflammation. This is how they gaslight you. Overactivation of neuroinflammation? What? This is like signaling. They use these stupid words to try to confuse you when you could just say copper's a toxic metal, which they do say in quite a few papers. They're duping people into taking copper. It's going to end badly. And I got to tell you folks, because it's poisoning people, when these people who have been pushing this stuff, when they get really sick or they die early, apparently somebody who runs a bioavailable copper group, not the big one, but another bioavailable copper group, somebody came on my Twitter and sent me a direct message. I posted it on my Twitter. A guy who runs a bioavailable copper group just died in his 40s. Okay? I'm not going to hide this. I'm not going there. People will be like, respect for the dead. No, I'm going to show people, like when the Liver King croaks, I'm going to point and be like, this is what's coming. Why would I not do that? I'm not trying to make fun of him as a person. I'm saying he was very misled and he poisoned himself. And why would I avoid talking about that just because the guy died? I should talk about it because he died. Here we go. Postpartum depression and the role of serum trace elements. Now we're going to start getting into more of the nutrients. This should actually probably be on the next group. But let's just go into two things. So we like to talk about zinc here and magnesium here and selenium here and potassium, these things. This is just a quick one. Zinc as a trace element has the second highest concentration of all transition metals in the brain, and its deficiency is associated with behavioral disturbances. Well, zinc is directly anti-copper, so that makes sense. Lower zinc blood concentration was found in women with postpartum depression. Shocker. Another trace element, magnesium, also influences the nervous system via its actions on the release and metabolism of neurotransmitters. Various studies have focused on antidepressant-like effects of magnesium. Antidepressant-like effects of magnesium. And its deficiency has been reported in depression. Depletion of magnesium stores during pregnancy is hypothesized to be the cause of postpartum depression. Well, let's just keep going. We're going to hit the magnesium. Okay, so for those of you who haven't seen, I have a whole video on topical magnesium. It's a couple live streams back. Maybe Joe can post it. We go over our new magnesium lotion, which is amazing. I mean, the feedback on it is amazing. And then remember, folks, if you're here now in the chat, make sure to chat, make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe, all that fun stuff that us YouTubers have to always keep saying, right? So you don't forget, because this helps the computer overlords to know to share this with other people. So here we have the role, and we're going to go over magnesium. Did I go over zinc first? I could have swore. Oh, I'm on the wrong. Okay, so this was one. Yeah, this is the zinc page, but I skipped the other three because I was still at the last one. Okay, so there's zinc. Did I do that last one, Joe? I don't remember. Yeah, that should be right. Zinc in depression, a meta-analysis. So remember, zinc is directly anti-vitamin A, anti-copper. Nicotinic acid is basically the same thing. So we'll get into that too when we go. Zinc in depression, a meta-analysis. Let's try to make this short. Zinc concentrations were approximately minus 1.85 micromole per liter lower in depressed subjects than in control subjects. Conclusions: depression is associated with a lower concentration of zinc in peripheral blood. The pathophysiological relationships between zinc status and depression and the potential benefits of zinc supplementation in depressed patients warrant further investigation. So they're saying they're fine. This is what we look for. This is what we look for in these things. We look for, does this condition associate with a deficiency status? And then do studies show supplementing helps the situation? Then you can be pretty sure people will be like, but it hasn't been proven. And I'm like, that's about the best you're going to get. You're going to wait for the pharmaceutical industry to tell you that you need zinc? Are you serious? Are you serious? Do you understand how they work? The pharma cartel? The emerging role for zinc in depression and psychosis. Converging clinical, so that's in real people, molecular, this is mechanisms, and genetic discoveries illuminate key roles for zinc homeostasis. And they use homeostasis when they're talking about good things. They often do that. They want to downplay it. as being like essential in association with clinical depression and psychosis, which are not yet well appreciated at the clinical interface. What can cause zinc deficiency? Intracellular deficiency may arise from low circulating zinc levels due to dietary insufficiency. Well, I can tell you zinc is going down in foods. So you may still think you're eating a great diet, but there may not be as much zinc. There's not as much zinc in your food. So, and then there's people who just don't eat enough meat. Or impaired absorption from aging or medical conditions. Gosh, what might impair your absorption? Where does the bile go first? Where does toxic bile go first? If it's actually making it out the bile ducts, it goes in your gut and it eats away at your gut. Do you know about chemical peels and retinoic acid? Retinoic acid, the active form of vitamin A, is used as a yellow peel and put on people's faces to dissolve the several upper layers of skin cells. Gosh, if there's retinoic acid in your bile, what do you think that would do to your gut lining? Do you think it would eat away at your gut lining and eat holes and cause maybe, I don't know, leaky gut? Where you're absorbing the wrong things, but you're not absorbing the right things as well. From aging or medical conditions, these are both the same thing. Aging and medical conditions are all the same thing. They're all just breakdowns of the system, including alcoholism. Is that a medical condition? I guess. A host of medications commonly administered to psychiatric patients, including anticonvulsants, oral medications for diabetes, hormones, antacids, anti-inflammatories, and others also impact zinc absorption. Furthermore, inefficient genetic variants in zinc transporter molecules that transport the ion across cellular membranes impede its action even when circulating zinc concentrations are in the normal range. That's kind of a problem, isn't it? Well-powered clinical studies have shown beneficial effects of... Let's just review this. Well-powered clinical studies have shown beneficial effects of supplemental zinc in depression, and it's important to pursue research using zinc as a potential therapeutic option for psychosis as well. Meta-analyses support the adjunctive use of zinc in major depression, and a single study now supports zinc for psychotic symptoms. Wait, so while we're here, let's just go do this. Let's do 3 lines, evidence, retinoids, schizophrenia, which is associated with psychosis. Oh, let's just go over this. Have they connected vitamin A to causing schizophrenia? I'd say this is pretty straightforward. Retinoids as causal, the cause of schizophrenia. Copper will also cause schizophrenia. I tell you that zinc and nicotinic acid are directly anti-vitamin A and copper. And yes, people have Abram Hoffer was fixing schizophrenia with grams of nicotinic acid a day. Do you see how this is all connecting, folks? It's all there. So we got that one. We did that one. Oh, we already did this one. Okay, so we're good on that one. So let's go to, that was that. Yeah, we'll hit magnesium right now. So, did we do this one already? No, yeah, we didn't finish this one. The role and the effect of magnesium in mental disorders, a systematic review. Let's see if we can make this pretty quick. In this study, we wish to evaluate the presence of a relationship between the levels of magnesium and the presence of psychiatric pathology, as well as the effectiveness of magnesium as a therapeutic supplementation. Pretty good, right? 12 studies highlighted mainly positive results in depressive symptoms. 7 showed a significant correlation between reduced plasma magnesium values and depression, measured with psychometric scales. 2 papers reported improved depressive symptoms after magnesium intake, 2 in association with antidepressants compared to controls. In 2 other papers, a reduced Hamilton Anxiety Rating Scale score in depressed patients correlated with higher levels of magnesium, and beneficial levels of magnesium in stressed patients was found. 2 papers reported low levels of magnesium in association with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. However, from the available evidence, it emerged that supplementation with magnesium could be beneficial. So for those of you who haven't watched my magnesium video, I consider topical magnesium approaches where you absorb the magnesium through your skin, some people call it transdermal, to be about 10 times as effective as pills. So if you want to waste your time with pills and take a chance, that's fine. I'm going to tell you, after all the mineral testing and treating people I've done over the last, what am I getting up to now? 18 years in practice? Topical magnesium just absolutely decimates pills. If you want to use pills of magnesium, you're mainly using them for the laxative effect, not for raising your systemic levels. I don't care what the research papers say. This is one of those things where I'm out in the real world and I watch how people respond. And topical magnesium is better. That's why I made my magnesium lotion. So, more on magnesium. Decreased serum magnesium levels in depression. I mean, they kind of say it in the title, don't they? A total of 18 studies were included in this study. Among 11 studies that measured magnesium in the serum, magnesium level was lower in patients with depression than in controls. Okay, that's enough of that. The association between serum magnesium levels and depression in an adult primary care population. So this is just people going to their normal doctor. The relationship between serum magnesium and depression using univariate analyses showed a significant effect when measured by the PHQ-2, which is here I'll highlight it right up above, Patient Health Questionnaire, a measure of depression. For adults seen in primary care, lower serum magnesium levels are associated with depressive symptoms, supporting the use of supplemental magnesium as therapy. Serum magnesium may help identify the biological mechanism of depressive symptoms and identify patients likely to respond to magnesium supplementation. Why are they talking? I mean, identify the biological mechanism of depressive symptoms. You simply need magnesium for your body to run right. I don't understand why they make it so stupid. Identify the biological mechanism. Like, you need a spark plug in your car to ignite the gasoline. If you didn't even know that the spark plug ignited the gasoline, you just knew that you needed a spark plug in the car and you could put it there, do you have to know how an internal combustion engine runs? Do you have to know how the electricity runs in your house to use it? No. You just need to know what you need to run the system. This is what we do here. A lot of people want to get into all the mechanisms. I fix people oftentimes without knowing anything about the mechanisms. I just know that people are worse when they're missing nutrients and when they're toxic. I don't have to know anything about the mechanism to get people better. One guy on Twitter the other day, he's like, that's a horrible take. When I said this, I just fixed the problem. That's a horrible take. Well, he didn't. Let me tell you something. You want to come on my Twitter? You want to open your mouth and show me just how silly you are? You won't stick around. Role of magnesium supplementation in the treatment of depression. Wait, so we're back into treating now. Consumption of magnesium chloride for 6 weeks resulted in a clinically significant net improvement in PHQ-9 scores. So that's another patient health questionnaire. Scores of -6 points and net improvement in generalized anxiety disorders, 7. That must be another questionnaire. Scores of -4.5 points. So they're going down. Average adherence was 83% by pill count. The supplements were well tolerated, and 61% of the participants reported they would use magnesium in the future. Similar effects were observed regardless of age, gender, baseline severity of depression, baseline magnesium level, or use of antidepressant treatments. Effects were observed within 2 weeks. Magnesium is effective for mild to moderate depression in adults. It works quickly and is well tolerated without the need for close monitoring for toxicity. Well, wouldn't that be better than pharmaceuticals? Selenium. Wait, did I get to highlighting these? There it is. The role of selenium in depression, a systematic review and meta-analysis of human observational and interventional studies. There was a significant negative association between high selenium intake and the risk of postpartum depression. High selenium intake, lower postpartum depression. That's what the negative association means. It means when one is high, the other is low. So they're saying high selenium intake, low risk of postpartum depression. That's what the negative association means. In addition, selenium supplementation significantly reduced depressive symptoms. Taking these results together, selenium seems to have a protective role against postpartum depression and can be considered a beneficial adjuvant or additional therapy in patients with depression. Well, there's that. The impact of selenium supplementation on mood. So we're talking about selenium in the diet. Or no, they gave selenium supplement for 5 weeks, and it was, when the people who got it, it was only 100 micrograms. That's not much. It's a decent amount. It's a useful amount. It's better than nothing. But I know in Keystone Minerals it's 150 micrograms. Often people will use 200 micrograms. That's the most common supplemental amount out there. So 100 micrograms is if we see results with this, that means it's pretty important. Intake was associated with a general intake of selenium. So the food frequency questionnaire was used to estimate the intake of selenium in the diet. Selenium intake was associated with a general elevation of mood and in particular a decrease in anxiety. The change in mood when taking the active tablet was correlated with the level of selenium in the diet, which was estimated from a food frequency questionnaire. The lower the level of selenium in the diet, the more reports of anxiety, depression, and tiredness decreased following 5 weeks of selenium therapy. That means with the supplement. So there's selenium. Which one is this? This is selenium. So now we're going to get into nicotinic acid, niacinamide. Not niacinamide. Do not use niacinamide. We're going to go over a paper that talks about it here just as evidence that there's a connection. Do not use niacinamide. Do not use nicotinamide. Do not use anything else other than nicotinic acid. And if you want the full instructions on how to do low-dose nicotinic acid therapy, high-dose nicotinic acid therapy, how to buffer, how to use charcoal with it, how to do all these things so that you can get the most benefit while not causing yourself issues, and if you would like to get access to asking Kelsey Kenny questions because she's my niacin expert, you need to go into the Love Your Liver program. That's at members.nutritiondetective.com. Like I said, Kelsey did the research. I mean, Kelsey wrote those articles that are in there. And Kelsey helped me last night. I said I was going to do depression today. I was like, give me your research on nicotinic acid and depression. And she was like, cool, no problem. So I want to go over this real quick because this is an interesting thing that proves some of my points. Nicotinic acid long-term effectiveness in a patient with bipolar type 2 disorder, a case of vitamin dependency. Okay, so they're going to say it's dependency. Now you have to watch what the nicotinic acid does for this guy. Okay. They're acting like it's an addiction to nicotinic acid. And in a certain way, it is because he likes to feel better and he wants to stay on it. But here's what I'm going to tell you folks out there. If you decide to try to do nicotinic acid and you don't stop intoxing and you're not doing enough of, how do you find out how many minerals you need? How do you find out how your mineral status is? You test, you don't guess, and then we address. Let's say if your minerals were great with just diet, we wouldn't do any supplements. But if they suck and your diet got you there, let's say you'd been doing the Love Your Liver program for a year by yourself, and you come in and you do the test and your mineral levels suck, It's not the Love Your Liver program's fault necessarily. It's that you cannot fix if the foods are depleted, which we all know this, right? And you're already deficient, and you're toxic, which requires even more nutrients than normal to fix it, and the food is deficient, and you say, I won't take supplements, how in the heck do you think you're going to dig yourself out of that hole? What in the world, what of all those things makes you think you're going to dig out of that hole? Now, it is true. As you take in less toxins, you will need less nutrients. This is why taking in less toxins is always more important than like nutrient-dense foods, because most nutrient-dense foods are just full of poison. If you see the word superfood, just run away. Okay? But like I'm saying, if the food's depleted, you're already deficient, and you're toxic, which requires more nutrients, good luck digging, and you don't even test to know where you're at. Good luck digging yourself out of that hole on food alone. So, this report describes a male patient with bipolar type 2 disorder who for many years had been treated with lithium and other medications applied in affective disorders, polydrugging. These pharmacological drugs had beneficial effects, but were at times insufficient. When the patient was prescribed nicotinic acid, not time release, not nicotinamide, nicotinic acid, immediate release, flush niacin, he experienced a comparatively strong effect. Slowly, it was discovered that the patient could lower and cease all medications except nicotinic acid. Now, there's some people out there who will be like, but he's still on a supplement. They got him off all the medications? Are you serious? Are you seriously arguing a point here? For over 11 years, he has been stable and calm with nicotinic acid and currently takes 1 gram 3 times a day. 3,000 milligrams was the dose used in a lot of the schizophrenia studies. 3,000 milligrams, 3 grams a day total. 1 gram 3 times. When not taking nicotinic acid, he consistently became anxious and depressed within 2 or 3 days. The resumption of nicotinic acid resulted in a normal state, usually within 1 day. This finding has been described as a vitamin dependency. Let me explain to you why it's not a vitamin dependency. This guy is still super toxic. He is medicating his toxicity with the nicotinic acid. Maybe he's still drinking. Maybe he's eating liver. Maybe he's taking a multivitamin. Maybe he's doing all these things like normal people do. That's why normal people these days, that's why you go on dating apps and you see mental health awareness everywhere. When you see mental health awareness, it's a red flag, I'm just saying. All these people are toxic. Like I remember when I first started dating after my divorce, like I was running into women who were on like retinol or Retin-A and birth control and breast implants. And I'm like, I can't undo all this. Like ladies, you have to stop poisoning yourself. Anyway, this guy was toxic. He didn't fix the toxicity. This is why when people are on the Love Your Liver program and they stop intoxing and they get their nutrients and then they facilitate the detox of old toxins and then they do nicotinic acid, which is the gasoline for your detox system to run. Oh, to run ALDH, you need selenium and molybdenum, FYI. Those are the parts of the engine. The nicotinic acid is the gasoline. So maybe this guy was just forcing nicotinic acid in, but he's got a selenium deficiency. He's got a magnesium deficiency. He's got a zinc deficiency. He's got a potassium deficiency. He's got copper toxicity. He's got vitamin A toxicity. If he doesn't fix those, if he doesn't get the right nutrients in, and if he, because nicotinic acid doesn't fix a selenium deficiency, as an example. Nicotinic acid doesn't necessarily make him stop eating vitamin A. So he can keep poisoning himself and keep being nutrient deficient. The nicotinic acid can act as a decent Band-Aid. But when he stops taking it, the problems are still there because everything's probably still coming in. Does this make sense? But they're going to try to say that nicotinic acid, 11 years. Wait, stable and calm with NA. People will be like, nicotinic acid is liver toxic. No, you're wrong. You're wrong. Those case studies are garbage. There's 8 of them in like 70 years. They're garbage. They wanted to try to blame nicotinic acid for something. 8 case studies in like 70 years. Are you serious? This guy was stable for 11 years and doing fine. Yes, he's addicted to something that caused him to feel normal and stable and calm. Oh no. Oh, he got off all his medications. Oh no. Give me a break. Pellagra and alcoholism. Pellagra is niacin deficiency, aka nicotinic acid deficiency. Let me see if I mark this one. There we go. Pellagra is caused by a deficiency of niacin, nicotinic acid, and or its tryptophan precursor, and is compounded by B vitamin deficiencies. The only B vitamins I'm really talking about anymore is B1 and folinic acid, which, funny thing, they just made prescription only. Wonder why they'd be taking that away from people. Pellagra is also induced by drugs, inhibiting the conversion of tryptophan to niacin, and by conditions of gastrointestinal dysfunction like leaky gut caused by toxic bile. Skin photosensitive in pellagra may be due to decreased synthesis of the tryptophan metabolite picolinic acid. Well, that's interesting. I always use zinc picolinate. That's what we sell in the Keystone Minerals and in my liquid zinc. And zinc deficiency. Wow. Imagine if you got zinc picolinate. That might help. Skin photosensitive is very much related to vitamin A toxicity in your skin. And vitamin A toxicity would be related to a nicotinic acid deficiency. And so they show up with similar symptoms. They both have skin photosensitivity. Imagine that. And whenever people have skin issues, I tell them you probably have a zinc deficiency. Wow, this is weird that they all connect. Depression in pellagra may be due to a serotonin deficiency caused by decreased tryptophan availability to the brain. I'm just going to say depression in pellagra may be due to decreased tryptophan availability to the brain. Neurotransmitter science is absolute hot garbage. This is why they never get anywhere. Pellagra symptoms are resolved by niacin, but aggravated mainly by vitamin B6. B6, you know what B6 is? Pyridoxine is an alcohol. Pyridoxal 5-phosphate, the one that all the alternative people push. Pyridoxaldehyde. It's an aldehyde. Wait, so niacin helps run ALDH. It's the gasoline for ALDH to run. And B6 is an aldehyde, which means it would suck up ALDH capacity. Weird. Alcohol dependence can induce or aggravate pellagra by inducing malnutrition. Alcohol turns into acetaldehyde, which then uses up your ALDH capacity. Does that make sense? It'd be like leaving your car in idle all day. Yeah, you're going to wear out your engine sooner. Like you park it and you turn it off. Alcohol dependence can induce or aggravate pellagra by inducing malnutrition, gastrointestinal disturbances, toxic bile, and B vitamin deficiencies, inhibiting the conversion of tryptophan and niacin and promoting the accumulation of 5-ALA and porphyrins. Alcoholic pellagra encephalopathy. Okay, so when you're frying your brain with toxic bile, should be managed with niacin, other B vitamins, and adequate protein nutrition like meat. Meat. Not bugs, not soy, not nuts and seeds. Meat. Let's look at niacin in depression. Diagnostic value of niacin skin blunting response in adolescent patients with depression. They're talking about the skin flush. Wait, what just happened? This here. There we go. They're trying to say how much you flush from nicotinic acid could be related to depression. Before we get into this, This is what Kelsey taught me, is that the niacin, when you take it, will tend to go or be used, I should say that differently. It will tend to be used by your body in the places that need it most. If somebody had depression, like significant depression, where do you think they might need it the most? In their brain. In schizophrenia, sometimes they give people nicotinic acid and they don't even flush at like 3,000 milligrams a day. They got schizophrenia. Where do you think the nicotinic acid's going? It's going to their brain. It's not going to their skin. Okay? So the more mental issues somebody has, the more likely it is they're not going to flush, or they're going to take higher doses before they flush. Okay? So here's what they're looking at: to investigate the differences in the niacin skin flushing response of adolescent depressed patients and healthy adolescents. Okay, so what happened? The total area of redness of the skin in response to niacin was significantly lower in the adolescent depression group than in the healthy adolescent group, and was able to distinguish the adolescent depression group from the healthy adolescent group. They could tell the difference between a depressed teenager and a normal mood teenager by how red they got. Okay? It doesn't mean that if you get red, you're not depressed. It's just a way of just don't hang too much on the niacin flush. People start thinking, well, if I don't flush, is something wrong? No, it means the niacin went somewhere other than your skin, or it wasn't enough to trigger a response. Okay? That's it. We don't chase the flush. We don't avoid the flush either. Wrap your mind around that. We don't chase it. We don't avoid it. Conclusions: niacin sensitivity, or the flushing, is reduced in adolescent depressed patients. All right. So there's a difference in people who are depressed when they use nicotinic acid in terms of how much they flush. Oh, wait, what do antidepressants do? We know they slow vitamin A detox. Well, antidepressants may lead to a decrease. This is a medical hypothesis paper. May lead to a decrease in niacin and NAD in patients with poor dietary intake. I don't think they need to put poor dietary intake, because it would make sense that it did it in everybody. You just might see the symptoms more in people who don't eat enough. This is how you know you're dealing with something important. Like zinc, they say, is involved in 200 pathways in the body, 200 plus pathways. I think similar for magnesium. Niacin is important for the maintenance of cellular integrity and energy production, and is involved in more than 500 intracellular reactions. You know what they try to say about vitamin A? They're like, if you don't get enough vitamin A, you get bad skin and you get bad eyes. And you go, where's it doing that? And they're like, it's retinoic acid signaling or something. Deficiencies of niacin may contribute to neuropsychiatric and neurodegenerative disorders. Well, that's not good. Do I have anything else on here? Oh, think your doctor's going to rule out niacin deficiency? Niacin deficiency should be considered and ruled out in all patients with treatment-resistant depression who have a poor response to antidepressants. So this is how they want you dead. They're going to give you drugs first. And only when the drugs don't work out are they going to think about this amino acid. Nicotinic acid is an amino acid. Don't call it a B vitamin. It's not a B vitamin. Yeah, Pierre was saying the more vitamin A I've consumed over many years, the worse my skin and eyes have been. That's how it goes. And here, so now this is, okay, so here's something. Do not take nicotinamide. I just got this because it was related to what we're talking about today. I totally believe Kelsey when she says everything that nicotinamide, niacinamide, those are the same thing. Nicotinamide, adenine riboside, or whatever, any of these other things. Nicotinic acid is better, does it better, and it's cheaper. Wow, so a variation of niacin ameliorates, makes depressive behaviors better. Where else was it? Where was it? This thing. let me find the part that I had. Oh, did I not put the link up yet? Did I miss a bunch of these links? Probably did. Here, let's do this one. I'm just going to go back and do a couple of them. I've been, just so you guys know, I've been personally experimenting with the niacin and sauna, niacin and exercise and sauna detox. Some people might associate it with Scientology and L. Ron Hubbard, but you know, as they say, even a broken clock is right twice a day. And I think they were onto something. And I'm okay. I can separate the two things. If you can't separate things like that, I'm sorry. I can. So, where was it? Let me find this one. It lost my, let me see. It's right here. Evidence has also suggested that nicotinamide aids recovery from depression or bipolar disorders. Song et al. Considered nicotinamide to primarily work through increasing and decreasing monoamine neurotransmitter synthesis and degradation, respectively. They also considered nicotinamide to potentially ameliorate depression through an antioxidative effect. That's not it. Along with an increasing supply of nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. It helps. If you've seen how happy I am in recently, you know, this is a big part of it. And I think that's it. So, what do we go over today? Well, we went over how, first of all, yes, the trauma and the other things that you've had, they do connect to the depression. But if you are chemically not well, it makes the depression worse. Actually, let me go find that. So let me give you an example of this. Let's go find it. Let's do, I put this testimonial on my, the other day. Let me get this one too. So this is a testimonial by a patient of mine who had PTSD. For years, I struggled with the effects of combat-related PTSD, such as insomnia, anxiety, and depression. Hold on, let me put this in here. Thank you for providing alternatives to traditional big pharma protocols used by mainstream doctors. Because of your magnesium protocol, it was more than that, but because of your magnesium protocol, I was able to get off of hardcore sleep medications and sleep normally without the prescription dependency I had developed. When I reached a breaking point after being exposed to corporate corruption, well, that'll cause you PTSD, I knew I needed to get help for PTSD from Afghanistan. However, I realized the VA, the Veterans Affairs medical community, lacked options and relied too heavily on chemical-based therapy. The simple yet effective anxiety protocol you prescribed allowed me to stabilize and function normally as a husband, father, and begin preparing to return to work while on medical leave. I cannot thank you enough for what a blessing you've been to me. Okay. PTSD, like how did I give him any therapy? Did I do anything about the trauma and the experiences he'd been through? No, I didn't do a dang thing. I just made him more nutrient replete and less toxic. Now, I think this has something in it here about it. Let me find, if it's the Rora, oh, somebody was at, well, so this is about kind of like hypersensitivity. This can also go along with, you know, when kids have the hypersensitivity, the hyposensitivity. Retinoids activate the irritant receptor TRPV1 and produce sensory hypersensitivity. Kelsey, if you're here, you should probably save this one. This is an important one because niacin affects the TRPV1 receptor. Actually, Kelsey was saying she thinks the nicotinic acid cleans out the TRPV1 receptor, and that's part of the flush. And here we have retinoids activating it. And retinoids cause tons of skin problems. Interesting. Weird that these are all connected, isn't it? Where's the... No, this is not the one with the RORA stuff, but I'll just put this one in there. TRPV1, right? Yeah, TRPV. Anyway. In vivo, in a whole body, retinoids produced pain-related behaviors. If you hurt, vitamin A is making it worse. Application of retinoids evokes substantial irritating side effects, including pain and inflammation. Oh, but it's a vitamin. Seriously. It's not a vitamin. It's a poison. And any benefit you get from it is because it's suppressing your detox. I've got a paper showing that vitamin A and vitamin D, the rat poison, slow down your bile production. So you get less bile in your blood, so you have less symptoms. But all that means is that the bile is either in your liver, or it's not being made, which means you're just accumulating toxicity and you're taking a toxin. Gosh, what do you think is going to happen later? So let's get into the, let me move this over here now. The chats, the super chats. So don't worry, I haven't forgotten you guys. There we go. Let me move this over. And we will be off and running in 1 second. So I'm just going to scroll up and find it. Will was the first super chat. And thank you, everybody, for the super chats. I really appreciate them. They are helpful. And then just remember that if you ever wanted to ask as many questions of me as possible, like big theory questions or other stuff, that's the inner circle. It's inside the Love Your Liver program. It is an additional fee, but that's where I normally would go there 2 hours after this and answer questions live Q&A, just like I do here, except people there get to ask as many questions as they want, and I can be a lot more, real and conspiratorial. So Will says, besides normal detox, any way to get a leg up on malondialdehyde removal? Well, let me go find my Twitter post. Actually, Joe, if you want to show this, show my Twitter screen. So this is how you search Twitter, folks. If you want to search my Twitter from NutriDetect, that's me, not Nutrition Detective. They didn't give me enough letters. There's not enough spaces. So NutriDetect. And then I'm going to type in, let's do, what was it? It was ALDH and ADHD. Oh, please. Sometimes this thing is so stupid. It really is. And the ADHD. Oh, Will, you already posted that link, huh? There it is. So let me make this a little bigger. This is a tweet I did the other day about attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which is a problem for a lot of people. Oh, come on, stop. I just want to post it right there. There we go. Malondialdehyde levels. So we talk about aldehydes with the brain all the time, right? They found the mean malondialdehyde levels in patients were significantly higher than those of controls. So patients with ADHD had more malondialdehyde in their blood. Malondialdehyde levels were correlated with overall number of criteria met and total hyperactivity/impulsivity score. The more toxic they were with malondialdehyde, the worse their ADHD scores were, the worse they were doing. But the reason I came here was because I wanted to go over the things that you can do to improve your ALDH. Okay. Malondialdehyde is created from PUFAs, polyunsaturated fatty acids. A lot of people just generalize them to seed oils. If you're still eating seed oils on a regular basis, you got to catch up. You got to stop doing that. Adding fats to your food is not a natural thing for any human. I mean, if you're paleo and you're pouring olive oil on things, you miss the boat. Okay? If you're like keto and you're just eating gobs of fat, it's going to end badly. I'm sorry. Humans are not designed for that. Where in the heck would we ever find that much? 70% of our diet is fat. Like, even cattle in the wild are skinny and lean. I don't know where you think you get all that fat. That's like the biggest lie that people tell themselves. Like, this is the natural best human diet is keto. Oh my goodness. So the best ways to reduce PUFAs, seed oils. Don't take fish oil, it's toxic. And essential fatty acids, like when people are talking about flax oil or chia seed oil or whatever. Stop taking these in. PUFAs are the base product of malandialdehyde. That's where malandialdehyde comes from. So if you don't eat PUFAs, you're not going to be making malandialdehyde. We stop intoxing before we worry about starting to detox. We do these concepts over and over and over again. Eating less added fats overall reduces PUFA intake. Let me put it this way. There is no pure, oh gosh, we don't even want to get into that. Generally, almost always, a fat is going to contain saturated fats and monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats. Like even coconut oil has like a gram of polyunsaturated fat in it. You can go look it up. So, added fats, like isolated fats. Are humans designed to eat these? No, we're not designed to just pour oil on our food. No. Your liver does not like fat. Your liver does not like added fats. But the only exception here is if you are underweight and you need to take in some extra fats, that's okay. The goal will be to fix your liver so you start gaining weight so you're not underweight anymore and you can stop taking in the added fats. But if you're overweight, I got news for you. If you're overweight, you got plenty of fat. You shouldn't be adding more. Okay? We want to provide selenium and molybdenum because they are specific parts of the machinery necessary to run aldehyde dehydrogenase. They're the parts of the engine. We want to reduce or minimize plant antioxidants, which slow down the ALDH oxidative process. Antioxidants slow down ALDH. ALDH is an oxidative enzyme. So you are directly slowing your detox with all these silly plant antioxidants. You want to get enough nicotinic acid, which is the main energy supply for ALDH to operate. Like I said, the directions on this, if you're out there wild westing nicotinic acid on your own, don't come back and blame me. We have, for $99, you can get into the Love Your Liver program for a year and read all of the information that I promote in terms of how to take it. Am I going to put this information out on the internet for weirdos to do all sorts of dumb things with? No, I'm not going to do that. I take responsibility for my work. And if people cannot pay a bit to get the information and they just want it all for free, the people who get, the things that are free, like that's the value of them, right? If it's free, it has no value. And if you put no value on it, you don't tend to listen. These are very simple psychology things. So anyway, nicotinic acid is the energy supply for ALDH. So you need the parts, you need the energy. You want to minimize or reduce other aldehyde intakes, such as acetaldehyde, alcohol, formaldehyde, specific foods, retinaldehyde, which is vitamin A. Do you know that when you take in beta carotene, it splits into 2 retinaldehydes? And yes, humans split it and turn it into vitamin A. And generally strong-smelling foods, herbs, and spices. Cinnamaldehyde, cinnamon. Vanillin is an aldehyde. Yeah. And so here's why here is why you would want to reduce your intake of PUFAs as the very first thing. This is why that's the most important thing. Malandialdehyde itself inhibits ALDH. What was that we saw? Retinoic acid inhibits ALDH. Retinaldehyde is an aldehyde. Malandialdehyde is an aldehyde. So the very thing that the aldehyde dehydrogenase is trying to detox inhibits the detox enzyme. So where should we begin? We should reduce PUFAs. Here's just another fun paper, the pivotal role of aldehyde toxicity in autism spectrum disorder. The therapeutic potential of micronutrient supplementation. Now, I'm going to tell you that I think most of the advice in that article is garbage in terms of the micronutrient supplementation. But using the word the pivotal role, it's pretty important. Wow, autism too. So we got depression, we got schizophrenia, we got psychosis, we got ADHD, I mean. Gosh, these things, how is all these things connected? Because it's all connected to your liver and your toxic bile. That's it. Okay? That's how this works. Wait. Let me go here. There we go. Should be good now. Joe, are we on now? Are we on the wrong? There we go. Sorry about that. I'm going too fast. So let me go back up to the top and find the super chats. Let me make sure. Oh, Gianni. Let me find that one again so I can read it. Wait. Did I miss something? I missed something. There's Will. Why am I not? So Brian Bray. Joe, I saw you put up the Gianni one and I can't find it. I just want to read it so I don't have to read it on the screen. Okay, can we link vitamin A toxicity to OCD? I have noticed a correlation between detox cycles and the appearance of anxiety, obsessive thoughts, and dryness. Yes. So this is all just normal, like when you have detox cycles, when you push things too hard, yeah, you're going to see symptoms related to the bile, right? So you're going to have the anxiety, that's the bile in the brain, obsessive thoughts. This is what we're talking about. This is like where there's the trauma, but you obsess on the same things. Where for those of you who haven't had much trauma in your life, like I can say, I've been blessed. I actually feel like I've been protected in my life. I have not had much trauma at all. But if I start getting chemically out of whack, then you start seeing these obsessive things, the just recurring thoughts of the same thing. For me, it's even as simple as like when I would wake up at night from bile dumping, blood sugar crashes, all that stuff. It was like a radio turned on in my head and I'd have a pop song that just played over and over and over and over and over again. So I wasn't obsessing about anything bad. It was just like my brain was like, we're agitated. We are going to find something to think about and obsess on. So it picked a pop song because I don't have a lot of trauma in my history. People who have a lot of trauma in their history, they might be bringing up old boyfriends or, things that happened, abuse or whatever, that your brain is just going to try to find something to think about and obsess on. That's a chemical thing. You're not broken. You're just toxic and deficient. So let me get into that again. So OCD, I can do a quick search here. Let's do... Well, here we go. Joe, let's go here. So remember, all vitamin A, some of the vitamin A you eat turns into Accutane, which is isotretinoin. Okay? In this instance, let's do this. Isotretinoin has been associated with psychiatric disorders and symptoms beyond depression and psychosis in some cases. In one instance, a 23-year-old man developed obsessive compulsive disorder after 7 years of isotretinoin treatment. So then what did they do? They shut down his detox. They gave him fluvoxamine and olanzapine to improve his symptoms. The literature also includes reports of panic attacks in a 20-year-old man and another 17-year-old patient in relation to the use of isotretinoin. Instances of erectile dysfunction and increased aggression, respectively, have been reported in other cases. So let's just go find Mawson's. Let's go Mawson. What was it? It was aggression, retinoid, PubMed. Oh, I got to share the link. Sorry. So we see that active vitamin A can cause OCD. Let's go here. Here it is. This is another Mawson paper. Mawson wrote like 34 different papers. He's great, man. I owe a lot towards this guy. I think he's aged out of doing much in this area. I think he's like 94, so I don't think he's gonna really do much more, which is sad. Anyway, this is a paper of his toward a theory of childhood learning disorders, hyperactivity, and aggression. Wow, those are pretty important things, right? So this was where he was still figuring out vitamin A and all that stuff. Let's see. In persons with, well, does he talk about vitamin A toxicity? Let's see. He talks about an increase in the brain retinergic activity. The theory is proposed that hyperactivity and aggression are intense stimulation-seeking behaviors driven by increased brain retinergic activity. That's vitamin A toxicity, basically. And the stimulation thus obtained activates opposing nitrogen systems, which inhibit retinergic activity. So the child is trying to undo the toxicity, induce a state of calm, and enhance cognition and learning. In persons with cognitive deficits and associated behavioral disorders, the retinergic system may be chronically overactivated and the nitrogen system chronically underactivated due to environmental exposures occurring pre and or postnatally that affect retinoid metabolism or expression. Pre and postnatally, yes, you can poison your children in the womb and you can poison them afterwards with the breastfeeding. That's why he wrote this paper on the breastfeeding. Okay. Still, breast is best. Don't get your panties in a bunch thinking that I don't support breastfeeding. But the reality is mothers detox into their breast milk and you are putting that into your child. So if you want to not poison your child as much as possible, you need to do this stuff before you get pregnant. Okay? Once it's done, it's done. I mean, we can detox the kid after they're born, but I would hate for you to have to deal with like a hypersensitive kid or an autistic kid or like, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure is kind of the idea here. Okay. So we got that one. So that's my connection there. Gianni, I did see it. I saw your other super chat saying, did you see my thing? Yeah, I saw that. Wait, let me get my video back up on screen. Where's my video anymore? Hold on. I'll be back on in a sec. There we go. There we go. There I can see it now. And then we go here. Joe, you can take me off the screen now. Mathay says, is low testosterone always a zinc deficiency? Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. No, let's go show that in one study. Let's go polyester genital testosterone of men. So is this going to be a zinc deficiency? No. Effect of different types of textiles on male sexual activity. Where was it? Let me get all these things. Each of the 4 test groups were dressed in one type of textile underpants made of either 100% polyester, 50-50 polyester cotton mix, 100% cotton, or 100% wool. The wool is good. The cotton is good. Wool's probably better than cotton. I just don't know in Arizona if I'm going to be wearing wool skivvies. Okay. So they assess sexual behavior. I'm not going to get into all of that stuff. But anyway. Oh, God, this sounds like fun. The electrostatic potentials generated on the penis and scrotum were measured by an electrostatic kilovolt meter. Okay. This was a real party of a study. The IM ratio. Let me find the IM. Okay. The rate of potent intromission to mounts were determined. Was this, wait, I thought this was humans. This is humans. It's got to be hard. It's got to be hard to evaluate humans for mounting behavior. You know, I mean, like rats, they don't know that you're watching them and they're just like, they get horny and they're going to do their thing. But like humans would be like, why is the doctor watching me? Like, I feel uncomfortable. The rate of potent intromission, is that like functional entry, I guess, to mounts. Mounts would be like an attempt. I made an attempt and then we scored. I don't know. Anyway, that's my guess on this. So read this. The IM ratio at 6 and 12 months of wearing the polyester and polyester/cotton mixed pants was significantly reduced compared to the pre-test levels and the controls. The reduction was more manifest in the pure polyester than in the polyester/cotton mix group, and at the 12-month than at the 6-month examination. Why was it at the 12-month? They accumulated more toxicity. Why was it in the more polyester? Because it's more toxic. So we have more toxic underwear, caused bigger problems, and the longer they wore it, the worse the problems got. Does this have anything to do with zinc? No, this is a toxicity thing. 6 months after the removal of the underpants, the IM ratio had returned to the pre-test levels in the two groups that had worn polyester-containing pants. The polyester-containing pants generated electrical potential, something like that. I guess I'll go up and find it, which may induce electrostatic fields in the intrapenile structures and could explain the diminished sexual activity. Oh, so you're creating like an EMF in your junk. EP, electrostatic potentials. So yeah, don't create an EMF on your junk. This is why you don't keep your cell phone in your pocket right by your junk, folks. To use a technical term. We use the technical term junk here. Thus, polyester underpants could have an injurious effect on human sexual activity. So it did. So this is just one example. So like, would they have, let's say if we theorize that the polyester was inducing a zinc deficiency, let's say, would that have fixed itself in 6 months of not wearing the polyester underpants? Probably not. So are there all sorts of things that can affect, in theory, this probably would have affected their testosterone. It definitely affected their libido and their functional ability. So is it just zinc? No, it's not. Absolutely not zinc. You can look up selenium and testosterone. You can look up magnesium and testosterone. You can look up vitamin A affecting testosterone. I have a whole thread on that on Twitter. So let me get the chat up there. So is it just a zinc deficiency? No, absolutely not. Brian says, what's the deal with snot/boogers/stuffed nose? Okay. I believe that mucus is, oh shoot, I'm putting them in the wrong places. Hold on. Joe, I put the wrong thing in there. Hold on, let me get this. There we go. Let me put I put it in our Telegram chat. I can't keep all my windows straight here. I got so many stupid windows clicking on and off. Okay. There used to be these things called the like mucus-free diets. And of course it was like plant-based and you couldn't eat any, but there was definitely no dairy. Dairy is a hugely mucus-forming food. Snot, boogers, stuffed nose. Now, the thing you must remember about, okay, so snot and boogers, if we're thinking about like mucus versus like crusty boogers and stuff like that. Okay. So we have hair in our nose. You're supposed to breathe through your nose, folks. If you're breathing through your mouth all the time, if you are a mouth breather, you need to figure out how to fix your nose, whether it's snot or whether it's a deviated septum or whatever. When mouth breathing is panic breathing. If you are mouth breathing, your body thinks you're in a state of like fight or flight. That's just the way it is, especially when you inhale through your mouth. Exhaling through your mouth, not that big a deal. Like what you do when you exercise is you try to breathe through your nose as long as you can. And then if you need to go to the next level, you start breathing out through your mouth. You breathe in through your nose and you breathe out through your mouth. By the time you're into breathing in and out through your mouth, you're probably way overdoing it and you're putting yourself in panic mode while you're trying to get healthy, and you're not doing yourself as many favors as you think. Can you do it once in a while? Sure. But you train yourself to breathe through your nose, not to breathe through your mouth. So you can be calm and be more parasympathetic even while you're exercising. So then in real life, when you have to really exercise, you've trained yourself to be more relaxed. So, mucus. Why would dairy make so much mucus? Because it's full of toxic shit. Pardon my French. Calcium. Too much calcium. It's got too much. I'm not saying calcium is bad. I'm saying too much calcium. Cow dairy has something like 4 times as much calcium in it as human milk does. And then people are like, yay, calcium. And I'm like, wait, so is human milk broken? Why is our milk designed so poorly for us then? Or is it just the Rockefeller dairy industry trying to convince us that we need more calcium than we actually do? I'm going to go with that answer. Why is it that, like, if you tried to hit the calcium RDA, you could almost not do it without consuming dairy? Do you think that was by design? I do. So we have calcium. We have dairy. Dairy contains tons of calcium, which clogs up the system. It just slows down the system. Dairy contains vitamin D by mouth. Do not take vitamin D by mouth. I'm the suspect of the entire vitamin D narrative now. Vitamin D is oxidized cholesterol. Do you actually think you need oxidized cholesterol to run your entire immune system and bone health? I don't think so. And then when they say the same compound, they use it as rat poison, and they studied it as a genocidal tool for humans, something that we make inside of us from the sun, which we need to live. But the pharmaceutical industries and the sunscreen industries tell us the sun is bad, and they tell us that the tanning beds are bad. But, take rat poison in a pill. It gives you all the same benefits. You've been duped. I question all the vitamin D stuff. Do I think you need light? Sure. We talk about sunlight all the time. We talk about UVB, whether it's spurty bulbs, whether it's tanning beds, whatever. You need light. Why do you think people get so messed up, as they said, with the shift work? And why do night owls tend to have worse health? Because they're not getting light. I don't care about the vitamin D thing. You need light. It's as simple as that. Get light. Figure it out. Not too much. If the light is causing you to get some skin damage, that means you are still too toxic for whatever amount or intensity of light you're putting on your skin. If you feel worse after going out in the sun, you're still too toxic for whatever you just did. Get less toxic, then try it again. Or do less that you tolerate. It's as simple as that. So, Brian asks, what's the deal with snot/booger stuff? So, I think mucus and phlegm is a detox route, right? Because what do you want to do with mucus and phlegm? If it's in your nose, you want to blow it out, right? If it's in your throat, you want to hork it up and spit it out. It's a detox route. It's like earwax. Earwax is a detox route. Especially the sweat in your armpits and your genitals is different than your other sweat. That's definitely a detox route. Snot is a detox route, and it's also a way of moving out. So think about this. Let's say pollen, right? Tons of people are sensitive to pollen. What color is pollen? Yellowish or orangish typically. What color is vitamin A again? Yellowish and orangish typically. What are toxic colors in nature? Yellowish and orangish. So you breathe in these pollens. And why do we have nose hairs? To catch things so they don't go into our lungs. What do they catch? They're catching the mucus in your nose, and the nose hairs are catching a poison in the air, and it's stuck there. Why do you think your body tries to sneeze? To get rid of it. Why do we want to blow our nose? Why do we want to get rid of it? If you sit there and you're one of those people who just keep slurping up the snot, I'm sorry, you're just repoisoning yourself. Get rid of it. Your body's trying to tell you, I want to get rid of this, so get rid of it. Crusty boogers can just be like if you breathe in smoke, like it's collecting in there and it's making crusty boogers. Dirt, smoke, that stuff. That's your body catching that stuff. And then what do you want to do with it? You want to pick it and get it out so you can breathe better, because eventually it will clog up the hole. But stuffed noses are an indicator of detox. They're about your body trying to detox. So you either got toxins coming in and getting stuck there. I had a guy with allergies. He said if he used the Neilmed sinus rinse, the squeezy bottle that you need to put the packet in, or whatever, salt or baking soda or whatever you're going to do, you need to put something in it so it's isotonic to your nose fluids, or else it'll just feel like it burns. It doesn't burn you, but it just feels like it. Anyway, he said if he did the Neilmed sinus rinse twice a day, his allergies disappeared. What was he doing? He was washing the toxin out of his nose. Twice a day. He just cleaned the slate. That's it. So, excessive phlegm, seasonal allergies, it's a sign of toxicity and detox. That's what snot and boogers and stuffed noses. One of the very first ways I learned that nutrition affected how I felt was about 15, and I was drinking milk back then, and I would drink a glass of milk, and about halfway through the glass of milk, I could notice that I built up phlegm and mucus, and I was hacking up a loogie, and I was stuffy, and I was like, that was the first thing where I observed the pattern. I was like, when I drink this, I feel this way. I don't like feeling this way. So maybe I shouldn't eat milk, right? Eat dairy. As you get less toxic, you can handle putting some more toxins in before you get the reaction. But you should notice that if you get that reaction, you're heading in a bad direction. It doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. Like we can fix your car. Let's say somebody drove their car in a stupid manner. Let's say they love to go over speed bumps way too fast, and they screw up their alignment and they screw up their shock absorbers. And then they come to me. I'm the magical car mechanic doctor, and I fix their suspension. I tell them what to do. Here's how you fix your suspension. For now, while we're fixing it, I need for you to not drive on speed bumps. Don't drive over the speed bumps too fast. Take them super slow and do these other things to help your suspension not get damaged. And then we're going to fix the parts. We're going to put back in the nutrients to fix the parts so your body can help fix it all. And let's say we get their suspension and alignment all fixed. And then they go, cool, doc. Can I go back out and start driving really fast over speed bumps again? I mean, you could. What do you think is going to happen? Same damn thing that happened before. You kind of get to start over a little bit. But also, hopefully, when you start driving over those speed bumps and eating those foods that you know you probably shouldn't, you start going, maybe I don't feel so good. And you do it a couple times, and then you go, ooh, I start to feel like I used to. This is not cool. And then you stop. So as you get better, as you get less toxic and more nutrient replete, you can abuse it a little bit. But those of you who have been doing this long enough, you know that if you abuse it like 2, 3, 4 times in a row, you start to notice the issues coming back. You remember that guy who stopped the nicotinic acid, and over a couple of days, 2 to 3 days, his symptoms would come back? What am I saying here? 2, 3, 4 times of abusing these things again, you start to notice the symptoms again, and then he'd get back on the nicotinic acid, and within a day, his symptoms would be gone. It's the same thing. So do you get to become invulnerable to all the crap things in your diet if you detox and you get rid of all your issues? No, you're not invulnerable ever. So, Ramon says, aside from heat, is there anything you can add to water in a plastic bottle that can activate the plastic toxins? How would I carry water around? I have glass bottles with silicone covers on them. Thank you for the super chat, Ramon. They're the glass water bottles with the silicone cover on them for both like shock absorption and insulation. Here, let me see. Let me see if I can find one. I would not have any plastic. No. So, Joe, if you could show this. This is like an example of what I like to use. This is not the bottle I have, but it's glass on the inside and there's silicone on the outside. That's what I use. I try to drink out of plastic as little as possible. The more heat that goes into the plastic, probably the more plastic is leaching off. The more acidic whatever goes in the plastic, the more plastic is leaching off. Why can't, and then this is not just at you, Ramon, why can't people just drink freaking water? Just drink water. Like, if you need your drink to be fun, you're acting like a 4-year-old. Right? I like fun drinks. Like, and this is not just at you, Ramon. This is like at everybody. Like, drink some hot water if you need a hot drink. Drink water if you need a drink. Like, right? You could just drink water. It's like, I need something else to drink. Why? What is in our design? I mean, it's not a very paleo-ish idea to have tea or coffee or fruit juice. I'm one to like, okay, so you want to know what I drink if I go to like a restaurant and I feel like drinking something out of the ordinary? I get the soda water and I get some lemons and I squeeze some lemons in it. And it's like, it's actually not bad. It's like a little lemony soda-ish. Okay. That's like a special thing for me. Very once in a while, I'll have an iced tea. But I don't go out to restaurants much. And especially if I do go out to restaurants more often, I'm not going to, I get water. Learn how to eat your meals without having to drink tons of water with them too. Your digestion will be better. So, and if you're going to drink water with your meals, drink warm water with your meals, and it will make your digestion better than it would be if you had cold water. Cold shuts everything down. Humans are warm-blooded. Warm things are good for you. Cold things are generally not. Cold plunges may be nice. I like them myself. I like cold showers. I like cold plunges, but I also know that taking a warm-blooded animal and cooling them down a lot slows down processes in the body. This is why in Chinese medicine they say cold things are for dead people. Dead people are cold. Live people get warm things because live people are warm. So, but if somebody was going to drink something, I was thinking about this the other day. The only two things that I really could endorse would be like barley tea or dandelion root, not dandelion leaf, dandelion root tea. Okay. Oh, Will was saying he's going to do some niacin flushes in his nose. Kelsey has made for you guys who are watching this, Kelsey, we put up a bunch of new recipe articles this weekend. Yeah, so there's like a nasal rinse in there now. She's got the niacin enema recipe. She's got the Nia spray for the skin and other stuff like that. There's hypertonic niacin. There's isotonic niacin. So just go and check out those articles. And for those of you who are in the Love Your Liver program and people are asking about, what do I do about this? Just make sure to tell them about those articles because not everybody sees the articles come out. So, let me see. Let me make sure. I got to get to... N. Rustica says, Buckminster Fullerene C60, any experience with it? I've used it. I used it with people. It does actually accumulate in the liver. This is a very interesting thing about C60. It absolutely accumulates in the liver. I have the research. And when you stop taking it, it leaves the liver. I don't trust it. Simple as that. I used it. I didn't see a bunch of effects with it. I had some people who really didn't do well with it. and it accumulates in the liver while you take it, and it leaves the liver quickly as soon as you stop taking it. I don't trust it. Simple as that. I have some articles on it in the Love Your Liver program where I show that it actually does bind to vitamin A. That doesn't mean anything by itself. Something binding to vitamin A doesn't mean anything. And if we find that it accumulates in the liver, maybe it's just binding to vitamin A and holding in the liver. And what if that was all the benefits that they saw about it, but it just held in the liver until you stop taking it and then you see it leave? The same thing happens with strontium, where people think strontium is helping their bone density. Strontium just accumulates in the bones very heavily while you take it, and then it leaves your bones as soon as you stop taking it, which is a sign your body didn't want it. It just had to store it because it couldn't get rid of it fast enough, and then it leaves. So I don't mess with C60. So Ramon, another super chat, he said, I know glass is safest, but also fragile to carry. That's why I do the silicone cover. If I had to do something else, I might do stainless steel. Ramon asks, what nicotinic acid do you recommend? We have an entire buying guide in the nicotinic acid section in the Love Your Liver program. I am talking with my supplement manufacturer about niacin capsules right now. We're trying to work hard on getting the lactoferrin back out and getting some other cool stuff going again. We already have to do the next batch of the magnesium lotion because we're selling it so fast. So we're working on stuff. We don't have any niacin products yet, nicotinic acid products. But like I said, Kelsey has a whole buying guide in there. I personally, what is it? I don't want to say the wrong one. Pure bulk supplements. I think I got the powder. That's the one I used. There is some concern by people out there about certain companies potentially adulterating their nicotinic acid products with niacinamide or nicotinamide, which starts to sound shady. And then when I tell you niacinamide or nicotinamide are not good for you, and then we start finding out that I'm saying nicotinic acid is good for you, and I'm saying nicotinic acid, nicotinamide and niacinamide are not good for you. And now they're finding some companies seem to be adulterating their nicotinic acid with nicotinamide or niacinamide. Weird, right? They're just doing it because they care for you. So this is why Kelsey actually can test these things. Kelsey, the gorilla biochemist, can test these things to see. She says it's very easy to test it and see if there's niacinamide in it. So her buying guide has basically been tested. So if that's worth it to you to go get, there's all sorts of pills in there. There's powders. There's multiple brands, especially for people who live in other countries. But yeah, I think I used the pure bulk supplements one. So, now you're looking for nicotinic acid or flush niacin or something on the label that says you may experience something like a flush. If there is nothing on the label about flushing or flush niacin, or if it says flush-free niacin, or like Ramon said, no flush, you don't want that. You don't want that. But if you want to know the exact stuff we recommend, like how to eat before you take it, what to eat before you take it, what to mix it with, that stuff, that's all in the Love Your Liver program. So, oh, sorry. Will says not pure bulk supplements. Sorry. You may want to look at the chat that Will put. I'm not going to say this on the air, but it was bulksupplements.com. Sorry, it was bulksupplements.com. That's why I said I may say it wrong. Because there's like pure supplements, there's pure bulk, there's bulk supplements. Like it's hard to keep them all straight. So, and Kelsey also has some affiliate links in the Love Your Liver program. So, you know, for all her hard work, we can toss her a little bonus her way. Okay, Christina Sophia, this is her quote. Or other things, the niacin powder from Dual Health is not pure, but has something else like ammonium Kelsey found. And it made me feel weird. So that was what Christina said. That's her experience. I'm just covering my butt and saying that was just a quote from somebody else. Things are going to get sketchy out there, folks. You really want to be with somebody who you can trust. Yeah. So our new people that we work with as the contract manufacturer, they really take things very, very seriously. And they test stuff as soon as I send them materials or whatever, they get materials, they're testing it again. And yeah, it's real serious. And they specialize in additive-free supplements or minimal additives. Like the only additive they ever use is rice flour, and they test it for arsenic and other stuff like that. So I think that's it. I got to go do the inner circle. So hope you all enjoyed that. Hope I didn't make you sad. So we will be back next week. Hopefully we'll be on time and there won't be any power outages. And we'll see you all next week. Hope you all have a great week. Bye now.